Our firm represents some of America's last best places, and stewards of these lands are the true conservation heroes. From the famed plantation belts of the Lowcountry, Red Hills, Union Springs, and Albany, to high-quality properties across the Deep South, landowners trust us to show their property's unique intrinsic value, monetize that value through a sale, and see to it that the next landowner will protect the legacy they've built. For over 30 years, we've served this specialized niche, becoming its ambassadors and building it into what it is today. We go beyond the role of the typical land broker. One of our differences is our popular short film series where we tell the land story. Today's story is not only about the land, but about the landowner and manager that steward over it. It's about a shared passion to create a place where friends and family go to enjoy God's great creation. You'll hear from a landowner who spent years creating a role model for wildlife management, all the while thinking it would be the last place he and his family would ever own. You're going to see a property with a feature that ranks as high as a 150-inch buck, a lodge that scores an A for wife appeal. We're going to take you on an inside look at one of the Lowcountry's most notable properties. It's with great pleasure I welcome you to Harper's Pond. Most of us can think about revered places of our youth, places that everyone in 3 counties knew was special. This is that place.
A buddy of mine showed me this house, and the moment I saw it, my wife knew we were buying it. It's an incredible place. So when we bring guests, customers, or employees of our company, when they come up here, they feel free, they feel space. They're in nature. We've got the pond, we've got people that like to fish, we've got people that like to hunt, we've got people that like to bird hunt, whether it's turkeys or ducks. There's everything that you want here at Harper's Pond. So my wife really enjoys this place. She loves the kitchen. She loves to cook, so it's got an incredible stainless steel kitchen with double wide fridges and gas burning stove, and it's just an incredible spot to entertain and host our family. And the most incredible part about the place is it's got 3 or 4 different living spaces just under the roof. We've got the back porch, we've got the living room, we've got the dining room, and then we've got the entire outdoors. And it's just an incredible place to entertain people. Our whole business is fishing. We spend most of our time offshore fishing, and but I grew up bass fishing, and I love catching largemouth bass. And when we looked at this property, the one thing that stood out was the lake. The lake is a 26-acre lake, and it's actually fed by 25 or 26,000 acres of farmland. So the farmland that's feeding this lake all drains into the lake. So it posed some challenges initially from a management standpoint. It was overgrown, and it was choked out. So when we bought it, we started a regular maintenance program on the lake, and we've been able to contain the growth of the lily pads while keeping the duck grass for the ducks, and the wood duck hunting here is very good. We have ringnecks here, and we have great fishing, and we restocked the lake 3 years ago, so the bass are big. Greg Grimes, our fisheries biologist, recommended we put 1,500 bass into the lake, and they're feed trained bass. They won't be feeding on fish food forever, but they are feed trained. So initially we ran all the feeders, and they're feeding the bluegill and the shiners and the bass, and these bass are just growing and growing, and now they're averaging over 2 pounds, and they certainly will grow 6, 8, 10 pounds for sure. And the fishery is just incredible. And if you grew up bass fishing like I did, there's nothing like hooking a shiner on a bait and watching that cork disappear. It's the coolest thing on earth. And rearing back on that rod and setting the hook on a bass, I don't care how many blue marlin you caught, there's nothing like a largemouth bass, and we've got them. So the strategy on the deer, when we bought the property, frankly, most of the property was choked out by overgrowth pines. And while everybody likes big timber, the problem with big timber is there's no sunlight getting in the ground. If there's no sunlight getting in the ground, you have no cover. And so we were facing a situation where there was simply no cover on the ground. So the first thing we did in the middle of deer season when we bought the property is we brought the timber guys in, which was very painful, to be honest. Nobody wants to see the timber guys in cutting during deer season. But what it did is it opened up the ground to sunlight, and we saw a reoccurrence of the foliage and all the natural stuff. So the first food plot is really the natural food that's produced by sunlight hitting the ground. Secondarily, we brought in the excavator, and that was more painful. Not cheap to operate an excavator, especially for month on month on end, removing the stumps. And then we had to regenerate the soil in the food plot areas that we did. And we hired a wildlife biologist, Dave Edwards, did an incredible job to help us design the food plots so they're perfect for whitetail deer hunting. And we removed all the stumps, and we treated the soil, and we started planting food plots. And we're now in our third season of the food plots, and it is just incredible the results that we've seen. The number of deer that we're seeing is triple or quadruple or sometimes 5 times what we were seeing in the first season. You just see a lot of deer. Like, it's just a lot of fun to bring your kids up or your family up and your friends up, and everybody's gonna see deer pretty much every sit. Obviously the turkeys like the wild foliage just like the deer do. We've created fields. We've got fields of clover, fields of chufa, and so the turkey population is good in South Carolina. So last year, on a normal morning, if you walked outside the house, you could sit on the front porch and you'd hear 4 or 5 turkeys gobbling. I suspect it's going to be close to double that this spring. The neighborhood is awesome. It's composed of landowners who are also trying to grow big deer and trying to grow a lot of deer. They're trying to entertain people. We have security cameras, obviously, just like everybody does. And it is a true fact that on our security cameras, we see far more tractors going up and down the road than we do cars. The neighbors are great, they're friendly, and they're committed to the same wildlife goals that we are. And it is just an incredible place on earth. It's the founding area of Quality Deer Management Association, and we're bringing quality deer management back to South Carolina. The thing about the Lowcountry in South Carolina is there's just a lot of wildlife. And there's something about the Lowcountry, the Lowcountry boils, the oyster roasts. It's very different than other parts of the Southeast I've been to. It's a special, special place. I love the city of Estill. The hardware store, Wiggins Hardware in Estill, is just incredible. Jinx Polaris is the largest Polaris dealer in the United States. And there's a reason for it, because Jinx is awesome and he's fun, and you go in there and you go to buy a Polaris from Jinx or just talk to him, he's gonna give you a cold beer, guaranteed. As far as the home is concerned, everything is in top shelf maintenance. The entire home was repainted, the air conditioners have been redone, the heaters have been redone, everything is in working order, the place is clean. Very fortunate to have a couple guys that work with me that keep the property up.
My name's Ron Gibson. We've been here at Harper's Pond for a little over 3 years, and I am Mr. Bridgewater's land manager. For whatever reason, this part of the world just seems to have an ability to carry more animals per acre, and so we just like the fact that you could be at a place that has just a large volume of deer and the ability for the land to be able to manage that and carry it. What we try to do with the property is just create a little piece for the animals to have security, to have bedding cover, to have food, to have protection, places where the animals really don't want to leave to wander off, that they got everything they need, right here. So we've supplemented in several places with sawtooth oaks, with Chinese chestnuts, we've got fruit trees, we've got a number of apple trees, we've got some trophy pears kind of mixed in some places, just to add some variety and a little extra character to the food plots. So we'd like to try to do strips and not try to do a full-on food plot like a 2.5 acre plot of just one crop. Try to mix it up a little bit so that there's always something in the ground for whatever the time of year is. So there's always a food available, a food source. Another thing I really think helps is having, creating a good amount of edge to give animals that place to edge to walk, to be curious, to look at. Seems like whitetail bucks are very curious in the right time of the year, so they want to move around. So try to manipulate that movement and get them into places to get in front of a hunter's eyes, or somebody sitting in the stand that they can see animals and not just have to have them 200 yards across the field, but maybe pique their curiosity to bring them in closer to be able to get a better shot or just a better look at an animal. Kind of our main goal with the animals is not so much the size of the bucks, it's just a number of animals. We want people to see animals, whether it's does or bucks or yearlings or hogs or bobcats or whatever it may be. We just want people to see wildlife, and so we've tried to manipulate things in a way, not just thinking single-minded of white-tailed deer, that's what we're after, but we're after a broad variety of just wildlife in general, to keep, just to kind of do our part to steward the land and keep things going in the right direction. I personally believe that soil health is a direct relation to antler size or whitetail health in general. Everything starts from the ground, so I feel like to be able to get the soil right so that those nutrients can pass from the soil to the plant, and from the plant to the animal, and it takes time to build that soil profile. So we've just been taking the time over the years to slowly build that soil profile and that development, so that we can just pass along whatever available nutrients they are from the ground through the plant, back to the animals. So we take soil health very, very serious. Take time, be here, be present, be in the moment, enjoy it for what it is. I mean, the pond itself is just a highlight, I think, of the property. When you drive in to see the pond and to see, what's on that, and then driving up to the house, it's just a really, really special piece of property and a really cool part of the world. And you can really disconnect, being out here and feel like although you're an hour from major civilization, you feel like you've traveled, somewhere else, and you can just kind of get out here and be away and enjoy the peace and quiet.
If I was going to write a letter to the next owners, I would recommend a few things. Number one, keep doing what we're doing. This property has been designed by the foremost deer biologist in the Southeast United States. It is perfectly laid out for hunting. And I would recommend that you keep planting the food plots. Don't get lazy. Keep putting the money and the energy into the property. We've borne the expense that is the hardest part, which is doing the timber work and doing the stumping work and getting the food plots established. All they need is a couple more years, and this place is going to be absolutely incredible. I called John Kohler because I have a lot of friends that know him. And when you do business with people, you do business with people that you can trust. His reputation precedes him. The entire organization is one that has a proven track record of success. I have friends that have used him to sell other properties, and I need to sell this property because I've got an opportunity to buy a home property where my kids grew up. And I hate to leave this place, but if I'm gonna sell this place, I'm gonna call John Kohler, and I know he's gonna get it done right. He's gonna find a proper steward for the land, because I want to continue what we've built here. I want to continue what the Harper family has built here, and I want to treat it with respect. And I know he's going to find somebody that's going to be the right person to be the next steward of this property.
We are glad we could take this opportunity and share with you the passion that Matthew and Ron have for this land, the improvements they've made, and the love of the Lowcountry. Being a steward of God's great creation is one of the most rewarding things we can do in this life, and these two are living it abundantly. It's hard to imagine that it's been over 30 years and a whole lot of learning since I first had the dream of building a different type of land brokerage. Today, this is our niche. We sell close to $500,000 a day, 7 days a week and rising. Closing over 27,000 acres, averaging a whopping $6,500 an acre for 2022 alone, our unique servant leader model continues to set our lands apart. An unheard of 74% of the sales I personally brokered were to buyers from our Rolodex, and we have now closed a property for the 5th time in our career. Erica's valuation model is approaching perfection status with a whopping 95% accuracy rate from what we told the landowner the property was worth to what we sold it for. 2 of our 8 salesmen rank in the top 20 of all land brokers in America. As a 3rd-generation land broker, I can tell you that these statistics are unheard of in this industry. How can all this benefit you? Our boutique firm has now closed over 537,000 acres owned by passionate landowners who have earned their trust just like Matthew. To put it in perspective, that's the acreage equivalent of closing every single plantation in the Ace Basin and close to half of all the properties in the Albany Plantation Belt at least once now in our career. Imagine the value of having all that knowledge, the buyer Rolodex, the persuasive power, and the value proposition of putting all that to work for you.